All right. Hello and happy time zone. It is once again time for a natural English coaching lesson. I'm Gordon Morse, your natural English coach, and it's time once again for me to answer your questions. All right, so here's our first question. What does it mean to be a cat person or a dog person? So when you hear these two terms, you might think like a combination of a cat and a human being, or a dog and a human being. That's not the case at all. When we're talking about cat people and dog people, we're just talking about different kinds of people and what they like. So in America, at least, cats and dogs are the two most common types of pets that people will have in their house. I'm sure it's the same kind of thing in Canada, the UK, probably even Japan and other places as well. So when people ask, a lot of times people might ask, are you a cat person or a dog person? So basically, very simply, a cat person is somebody who prefers cats, and a dog person is somebody who prefers dogs. This doesn't mean that a cat person only likes cats and nothing else, or that a dog person only likes dogs and nothing else. It could, depending on the individual, but it mostly just means that this person prefers cats. They like cats more than dogs, and dog people prefer dogs more than cats when you compare one to the other. So, some people think that whether you are a cat person or a dog person, it actually depends on your personality, or they think that because you are a cat person or a dog person, you can actually determine or predict what kind of personality you have. Sort of in some ways similar to blood types. Some people think that, if you have A-type blood, that means that you are, neat and organized and stuff like that. I don't really know a lot about blood types, so I can't really give too many examples. But there are some people that might think, oh, you're a dog person. That means that you have a lot of energy and you like to go outside and you're very social. Where some people think, oh, if you're a cat person, then you must like to be indoors, you're not really social, or maybe that, you just like are a quiet person. Obviously, that's not really true. You can't determine, your love of cats or dogs doesn't automatically mean that you're loud or quiet or anything else. But it's probably a belief that you might find that some people have if you're talking to them about this topic. So interestingly, you can use this phrase to talk about other things that you prefer over other things. So you can be a chocolate person if you're talking about what kinds of foods or specifically sweet things do you like. So if someone asks you, oh, what sweets do you like, or what kind of desserts do you like, you can say, I'm a chocolate person, definitely. Or especially another two things that people like to separate into are morning people and night people. So people who are able to wake up easily in the morning and people who stay up very late at night. You can say, I'm a morning person. Saying I'm a night person isn't as common. It's usually just people who are morning people and those who are not morning people. I am, in fact, definitely not a morning person. People who like to live in the city versus people who like to live in the rural areas or countryside. You can say, I'm a city person. Or if you have different types of computers, whether you have a PC or a Macintosh or Mac Apple computer, you might say, I'm a PC person or I'm an Apple person. You can also substitute person with guy or girl or man or woman, but it's most common to use the word person. All right, our next question is, what's the difference between really and pretty when describing actions? So when we're talking about something that you're doing, sometimes you use these as adverb words to describe the action. For example, if you run fast, you can run really fast or you can run pretty fast, right? So both of these words are used for emphasis. That's a tricky word. Do you know that one? It's a word that is very useful to know when you're learning words in other languages, like English. So emphasis just means something that makes a strong feeling. So a very common thing that we use for emphasis is the exclamation point, right? The long line and the dot at the bottom. That is used to show emphasis that whatever is being said has strong feelings behind it, or you're saying it loudly, right? So it's very important to know that with really and pretty, with really, in this case, the meaning can change a little bit, but especially with pretty and somewhat with really, these words are used to show the feeling of a sentence, not necessarily to change the meaning. So in this case, really has a stronger feeling. So you can be late or you can be really late. So for example, obviously, whether how late something is depends on the person and the situation. But, say for example that I needed to be at a meeting. And if I was 5 minutes late to the meeting, I'd just say, oh, I'm late. But if I was 20 minutes, I'd say, oh, I'm really late, right? It has a stronger feeling. So also with pretty is a little bit more difficult to describe because pretty has a softening feeling for whatever it describes. So in this case, it's I'm tired versus I'm pretty tired. It has a different meaning than really because really increases the feeling, whereas pretty just kind of makes it a little bit softer. And also, the word pretty is often used as filler. So filler is basically when you're talking in a casual manner and just talking to someone in a casual conversation using natural language, you'll use the words like pretty and other words just to fill the space of when you're talking. Sometimes because you have to think when you're figure out what to say next. But sometimes just because it sounds better when you're talking. Sometimes if you say things without filler words, they're just very short and they feel sometimes kind of rude or just kind of like too sudden because they're just short. So if you say, I'm tired, it's a little like, oh, okay. It kind of makes you sound a little bit like a robot. But you say, oh, I'm pretty tired. That's much more natural in conversation. There we go. Question 3. So, why do people say, I'm heading out when they leave somewhere? So, when you say, I'm heading out, it's just basically something that you can say to the people that are there at the location so that they know that you are leaving. It's very similar to kind of a itakimasu in Japanese. However, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're coming back afterwards. The phrase, I'm heading out, is more casual than it is polite, but it's not rude. You can say it with basically anybody, but if you're talking to like your boss or something like that, if you have a close relationship, it's fine, but if you're really like talking to the head of the company, you might want to say something a little bit more polite, especially if you're just kind of leaving him suddenly. A similar phrase to I'm heading out is I'm taking off. It basically means exactly the same thing, and you can use it in the same situations. So you can also just use heading out with places that you're going to. In this case, I'm heading out to the store, or you can just say I'm heading to the store. In this case, heading out or heading has the exact same meaning as going somewhere. However, the feeling is just a little bit different. In terms of meaning, you can use either one and you will be understood perfectly for meaning. It's just the kind of thing where you really have to be speaking English for quite a long time to really have a feeling for how the sentences are a little bit different. I think of it as similar to using ni versus it in Japanese when you're talking about going somewhere, right? So here are two sentences that are supposed to mean the same thing, but you can tell that they have a different feeling. So the top part, right, goodbye, I'm leaving. It's very direct and the meaning is clear, but it doesn't feel natural. It doesn't, if you said that, people would kind of be a little bit surprised because it feels a little bit harsh. A much more natural thing to say is, see ya, I'm heading out. Casual, friendly, that kind of thing. So, question 4. People have trouble understanding me when I say words with an L sound. How do I improve my pronunciation? So this is just a diagram of a face, the side of a face. So if I can remember, see how there's the nose, there's you can't see there's the lips, and then there's the teeth inside, there's the tongue, and then the back of your throat, right? So I've made 2 marks on this chart. One where the L sound is usually pronounced when you're speaking Japanese, and one, the blue, where your tongue should be when you're speaking English. So when you make the L sound in Japanese, your tongue actually goes above your teeth, and touches kind of the space between the roof of your mouth and the top of your top teeth. And for a natural English L, that's actually too high. To make the strong L sound in English, you actually want the tongue to be in between your teeth. Oops. Uh-oh, I'm missing a slide. So basically, this is advice that I've given several times on these lessons before. But when you're first practicing the strong L sound, I recommend that you actually stick your tongue between your teeth and hold it down like that. La, la. Obviously, it looks a little bit ridiculous, and you don't want to be doing that all the time when you're speaking. But I recommend practicing with it first, because the more you practice, the better the sound will be, and then once you have the sound correct, you will get faster and faster. So, la, la. And then the most natural position is la, la, where your teeth are almost together, but your tongue is sort of like in between them a little bit. So, here are 4 really good L words to try. So we have love, love, which in Japanese you would probably pronounce something like dabu, dabu. So try to pronounce dabu and love. See how la, the tongue goes up. You don't want the tongue to go up, you want it to stay centered, la. So we have love, and we have line, not line, like line. We have last, and in Japanese, rasto, rasto. Again, the tongue goes up. And then we have luck, luck, not daku, daku, daku in Japanese, and luck, right? All right, so I recommend that you practice those a fair amount. Our final question for today is, a friend of a friend asked me, what's your team? How should I answer that? So, just in case you didn't know, a friend of a friend is actually a very common saying in English, which you can probably understand pretty well, right? It just means that your friend has a different friend who you don't know very well. So, you'll probably meet these people if you're at a party or you're hanging out somewhere with a group. So, what's your team? Basically, this is a casual expression, a casual question that means, what sports team do you support? So, the sport is different depending on the context of the situation. Obviously, when you are watching a soccer game, if someone says, "Oh, what's your team?" it means which of the two teams that are playing do you support, right? So, of course, it's different with basketball, football, anything that has a sports team. But if you are asked this question when you are not actively watching a game, there might be some other sign about which team they're talking about. So maybe you're wearing like a jersey, right? Or maybe you're wearing like a hat with a sports team logo on it. So the easiest answer to this is, I'm a blank fan, where blank is the name of the team. So you could say, "Oh, I'm a Giants fan," right? Or I'm a Patriots fan, I'm a Rams fan, I'm a Carps fan, I'm a Tigers fan, right? Usually when you answer this, you don't really put the name of the place that the sports team is from. You just say the name of the actual team itself. So Giants, Carps, Tigers, Patriots, etc., etc. Another common expression that you will hear is, who are you rooting for, right? So if someone asks you, who are you rooting for, same meaning. Basically, it means, which team do you support? And most commonly, this question will only be asked if you are watching a game at the time. So if you're watching it at a bar or you're actually there at the sports stadium, someone might ask you, "Oh, who are you rooting for?" And you can say, "I'm rooting for this team," or "I'm rooting for that team." All right, so here is the question that I will leave you with today. And I recommend that if you want to, you should think about this question, and then when you're ready to answer it in English, you should record yourself, for example, on your phone or computer, and that way you can listen to your answer later on and try to hear the places that you need to practice more, whether it's pronunciation or vocabulary or grammar, and then record it again and again, because each time you'll be correcting something a little bit more. So, my question for you today is, are you a cat person or a dog person, or neither? And why, right? So, for example, for myself, I'm definitely a cat person. I think dogs are okay, and I do like some dogs, but ultimately I would always prefer to have a cat than a dog, because cats are quiet and cats can kind of live their own lives, and I don't have to worry about having a cat all the time, whereas dogs often need a lot of attention. All right, so that's it for this week. Again, if you have enjoyed these live streams and think they're useful, please think of adding a like or also commenting or subscribing. All of the past live streams you can watch on my channel if you're interested. And also, because this is a live stream, if you ever have a question, you can type your question in the chat and I will be able to see it and answer it immediately. That's the point of these live streams. However, if you have a question on any of my other videos, feel free to leave a comment there and I can correct your English or answer the question whenever you want. So, have a good week and I'll see you next time.